All right, we will now jump into the automation part of the service cast, and specifically, we will start by showing a very requested feature, which is the auto print the batch sheet and its options. This is found at the product component production level. The goal is, of course, to reduce the manual intervention and repetitive clicks. And this came from the need to automatically print the batch sheet when the batch is either created or sent to the device. Some of you may want to automatically print the batch sheet as soon as the batch is created or as soon as the batch is sent to the device. The goal is to create a more efficient process so that you don't have to manually print out the batch sheet every time this event occurs. The batch sheet can now be printed automatically based on prior configuration in the product component without having to take any additional manual steps after making the necessary configurations. So let's take a look in the details of this feature. I will be showing the 4 options available to print the batch sheet. And these are at batch creation and send to device, at printer, and then we also have the manual option. All right, so we are on the product component production section. You can choose the at batch creation option if you want the batch sheet to be printed as soon as the batch is created. When you select the at batch creation option, the batch sheet auto print option is mandatory. It is mandatory to select the at printer. This way, the batch sheet will be printed on the selected printer as soon when the new batch is created. So the at printer is mandatory when the at batch creation option is selected. The second option available for the auto print of the batch sheet is the at send to device. If you prefer to have the batch sheet printed when the batch is sent to the device, then you will see that the at printer option is becoming optional for this case. The option allows to configure the system to print the batch sheet automatically to a designated printer when the batch is sent to the device. If you leave the at printer field empty, the batch sheet will be sent automatically to the batch sheet printer defined in the device to which you are sending the batch. So I've put here a big warning because you need to make sure that the device has a batch sheet printer configured in case you leave the field empty in the product. So the printer configured in the at printer field overrides the batch sheet printer configured in the device. The batch sheet printer defined on the device is used by default. So just to recap, the precedence will be the product component production printer, otherwise the printer configured on the device level. Lastly, you have also the option to manually print your batch sheet. And for this case, you need to keep the batch sheet auto print field blank. Moving on, continuing on the new additions in the automation workflow, it is now possible to automatically send to the finishing devices from the printing device. This new functionality explained here is that when using JMF types job submission, Siteflow gets a message when the print is completed. And once Siteflow receives this message, you now have the option to both sending a JDF template to a finishing device and moving the batch to the next event in Siteflow workflow, which will be also visible in the production work-to list. You will be able, of course, to see this in the demo that will be presented by Chad in our last section of the service cast. So you will be able to watch the E2E automated workflow using 2 different JDF templates to 2 different devices. The main feature we want to highlight here is that the whole flow happens automatically. From an initial work plan condition a batch can automatically be sent to a device using a JDF template assigned in the work plan. And from that printing device, it can be configured now to automatically send to the finishing device via another JDF template assigned also on the work plan, and move to the next event via JMF response when the event is completed. For the workflow we will be reviewing today, our goal is to implement an auto-send feature that triggers based on specific conditions within our work plan. The work plan used is showing a condition which can be based on anything available in the drop-down. Could be reprints, item, attributes, etc., which will be able to send the job to either press A and press B. Now, thanks to these new features in the work plan, you can use different JDF templates based on the press chosen. So you can see in this case we have press A, which is using an auto-send to device as soon as the batch is created and using this default JDF template. But you can also see that you can configure press B with a different auto-send to device. So in this case, it's 3 hours before the scheduled production time, and it's using also a different JDF. Furthermore, the automation for sending the batch to the device has now 3 auto-send to device options available, as I was just showing. These are available, of course, in the work plan settings. The auto-send when the batch closes. The batch file will be sent automatically when the bucket is closed and when the batch in position file is ready. The auto-send 3 hours before scheduled production start is another option. And the third one is the auto-send when the previous event is completed. So Siteflow will now send automatically the batch file when the batch is scanned from the previous event. It is important to note that this is only available for the default device. Very well. So based on the automation options, once the batch has been automatically sent to the print device, we now have the capability for 2 main actions. The first one is the auto-sending to the next physical device when the print event is completed. And the second one is the automatic moving of the batch to the next event in Siteflow. Right. For the first option, so when we auto-send to the next physical device, there are 2 important settings to have in the work plan. The first one is the auto-send when the previous event is completed, which needs to be on the second event of the work plan. Here we call it finish. It's marked in orange. And the second point is that the JDF assigned in the second step of the work plan needs to have a specific configuration to trigger the send to the finish device. And Chad will be showing these settings later. Okay. At the same time, you can also have the event automatically marked as complete and moved to the next event in Siteflow and get the responses from the device to the send to device status in the batch UI. The important settings are now on the device level rather than in the work plan. The print device needs to be a JMF workflow. Because of the bi-directional communication, so that Siteflow can receive the response to trigger the automation to the next event. The toggle needs to be on. This triggers the auto-send of the batch when the previous event is completed. And when Siteflow receives the printed JMF response from the device, the sub-batch will move to the next work plan event. Before the final E2E demo, let me quickly recap for you the main settings that we've been reviewing right now in the work plan and in the device. So for this, I'm just going to go very quickly to the UI. So we have started with a condition in the workflow. This will go to press A or press B. I just wanted to show you where these settings are in the work plan. So you see here we have press A with the auto-send to device. When the batch is created, we have this JDF template assigned here. And the important part for this, for the press, is that you will need, I'm going to show you now the device settings. And we have specified just now that it needs to be a JMF workflow. And the toggle to enable the JMF response is here. And you also have the informative panel of the sub-batch will be moved to the next work plan event when Siteflow receives the printed JMF response from the device. On the other hand, our finishing device will have a production phase here, and it's a JDF file to folder type of workflow. All right. And lastly, we also mentioned that we're going to be seeing the responses of the JMF on the send to device state in our sub-batch details. I will continue now with the last slide. So I'm sure that by now everyone is wondering, how do I know which JDF template is going to be used? So let's review it together. We know that the JDF template can be defined in 3 different places. The first one that we just seen, it's in the work plan. The second one is in the product configuration. And here in the product configuration, there are 2 other places where the JDF template can be configured. And it is in the attributes, so via a lookup attribute, or in the product production tab, right? So we usually recommend to remove the one from the component production tab when you use a computed attribute to assign the right JDF. And the last place where you can define the JDF is inside the device details. So the workplan JDF is used only if the auto-send is configured in it. The order of priority is summarized in this table, and it basically means that the work plan JDF template is going to be the first one chosen. Then you will pick the device JDF template. Then you will go to the sub-batch, the lookup attributes, and finally the product JDF template. At the device level, if we send the sub-batch to another device, then the device JDF will be used if there is one specified there. If there is no work plan JDF, no device JDF, then the user can override the JDF set by default to a certain sub-batch by going into the batch details and changing it there manually. This one will be used over the product JDF template. If no JDF template is defined in none of these places, Siteflow will use the default JDF template of or the latest JDF template used. Very well. I'm now going to move on to our final part of the service cut, and Chad will take over from here, and we'll walk you through the end-to-end test workflow using 2 different JDF templates for printing and finishing devices. In this case, one of the JDF is configured for a smart stacker finishing machine. Leaving to you, Chad.
Thank you, Novella. Are you able to see my screen?
Almost there, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So to prevent some waiting and watching while we're doing this demo, we've pre-submitted an order that went into Siteflow using the same workflow that Novella just described. So there's the split conditional with the 2 different presses, and then a finishing device at the end right here. So this has already batched. We've created batch 1066 here, and it is currently in the print work center, if you see here. If I look at the details on this, we have this set up to automatically send to device. So if I click on this batch, sub-batch, you can see that the statuses here have updated. So we've sent it to device, and it is being sent by workforce worker. So if this was done manually by an operator, that would show the operator's name. But since this is being done automatically by workforce in the background, then you'll see that these workforce workers here are updating the job as it goes. So it successfully delivered to the device. And then that happened, what, 5-10 minutes ago, 20 minutes ago. So behind the scenes, this is generating a JDF template to go to the HP Production Pro DFE. So if I look at that under the template section, without going into too much detail, this is a JDF template designed for digital printing. So it's got information like where the print file is here, quantity, templates, things like that. The second part of this flow, so if we're going here after the printing is completed, we're going to go to in this case, a Horizon Smart Stacker, which is a finishing device that's able to be driven through JDF. So we're going to need a different format of JDF to drive this type of device. And if I go look again into our templating section here, this is a very different looking JDF format. This is called lay crimp, if anybody is familiar with finishing JDF, which stands for layout, cur, and imposition. I can't remember what the CR is, sorry. But basically, this is going to define a printed stack of media that's going to be delivered to the device, and then how that's going to be cut and finished and placed into stacks. So this is something that we come up with for some of our customers to automate their finishing after printing is completed. So two separate templates, one is defining printing and one is defining finishing. So if I go back to my sub batch, we can see again that this is in the print state right here. If I go, I'm going to switch over to our Production Pro DFE right now. I can see that batch 1066 has successfully been delivered to the DFE through JDF. The job is already ripped and printed at the print device. We don't have a print or a press here to actually physically print the job during the demo. But what we can do is go onto the press controller here, find that batch, and then I can manually set printing to done. And this will trigger the same JMF activities behind the scenes that physically printing the job would. And this, for demonstration purposes, this will trigger this flow. Okay, if I go back into the all jobs list, you'll see now that the job will complete with the little green check mark here. And if I go back into site flow, refresh this page, I can see that there's no longer a job in the print work center, but there is one in the finishing work center. So this job is automatically completed in the print setting based off of the JMF that was sent from the Print Production Pro device. Just kind of a side note, this automation through JMF is currently only supported for HP-enabled JMF devices. It is standard JMF behind the scenes that we're using for this. So if there is a third-party device that sends us the JMF format that we're looking for, it should work. But we've only validated this with HP-supported devices right now. Again, if I click on this, I can see the different stages here. I can see that, again, it was completed automatically and then sent to the next device through the workforce worker. Again, this is done because we configured the auto send to the next step based off of the completion of the previous device in the work center here that Novella went over earlier. You can see this is auto sending to a device when the previous event is completed. So as soon as that press triggered automatically the print completion, then we automatically sent the next step to the finishing device here. So if I go back, this device is set up as a JDF to a hot folder device on the DFE. And we set up a folder, basically just a dummy hot folder on the DFE to show how this works. So if I go to that hot folder location, this is just a random folder that we created on the DFE for demo purposes, but this would actually point to the Smart Stacker device in your environment if you were trying to drive this. You can see that I've automatically gotten a JDF generated in this folder. And if I open this up, this is a pretty complex lay crimp JDF defined to generate the stacks or the cut stacks for this device. So we can see that this is automatically completed the work center in SiteFlow and delivered the JDF for the next stage, so that you should just be able to move your stack of paper over into there. All your JDF settings are ready to go and finish. So nice automation capability here. I'm going to talk quickly about one other thing that we didn't really mention, and that's the addition of another trigger that we've added in SiteFlow. So if you go into triggers, the ability to create postbacks based on certain events, we've added a new trigger called sub-batch JMF response. And so sub-batch JMF response will actually send the outgoing and incoming or returning JMF messages that were sent to that JMF enabled device. And I've set up here basically a free online website called PipeDream. Has the ability to capture postbacks just for testing purposes. But if I go to that pipe dream application right now, I can see that I've gotten a new event based off of the completion messages. So when SiteFlow got the JMF completion message from the Production Pro, it also triggered a postback that I configured up. So I can go look at that here. And I'm going to copy this out of here because this is really difficult to see. Oh, I got the wrong one in here. Well, I can walk you through it here in the pipe dream UI. But basically the JMF message that was sent back from the DFE and captured in SiteFlow, it can also be pushed out into a postback. So if you want to capture the information in the actual JMF from the Production Pro, you have that capability now. Some of the things that is very helpful with that is this JMF URL right here. The return JDF ticket URL. So if I copy this path here and open that on the DFE, this is actually the modified return JDF ticket. I don't know if any of you have dealt with this before, but this modified JDF return ticket actually gives you the production information that happened on the device. So if I want to see how long this job took to rip or how long it took to print, if I want to see how many sheets were printed or the number of impressions that were printed, that's all available in here. Since I simulated the printing on here, a lot of the information is missing. But again, that's another powerful capability we've added to SiteFlow in order to get that information. And one other thing to talk about, the ability for us to generate the JDF that goes to the Smart Stacker in this template here. Oh, sorry. Too many templates open. Sorry. In order to generate this JDF template that goes to the Horizon Smart Stacker, we've actually added the imposition information for the batch imposition into the payload for JDF. So that has opened up a lot of capabilities for us to automate finishing devices, because now we have all of the NUP, the crop marks, the bleed, information like that is all available in that JDF payload. So technically any JDF enabled device or any device that can be automated through some kind of an XML JSON type file can be automated from SiteFlow now. I know that was a lot to cover in a short amount of time. If there's any questions here, please let us know. Good. I'm assuming you all understand that completely and can just go off and automate your own systems now. Feel free to reach out for us.
Tracy did address a question that arrived already, so I'm sure there will be more probably.
Yeah, we're currently deploying this at a couple of customer sites right now that have Horizon Smart Stackers, but there are other JDF enabled finishing devices out there. So if you're looking to automate some of that in your workflow, please reach out to us and we'll see what we can do to help you.